Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the FEA podcast. My name is Todd Kelly, writer creator of Shattermare, the Defender, Atlas Rising, Project Titans, and a bunch of other titles that are stuck up here and need to get put in the laptop at some point. Hopefully next month. We'll see what happens. I am here with you tonight with our guests and our co-hosts, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk comics and whatever else comes up, and we're just going to roll with it. So, Nick, I'm going to pass it over to you. Let you introduce yourself.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Nick, this group's pop culture connoisseur, and Todd's handler. I like that. I'm gonna add that.
Yeah, handler.
I'm gonna add it to my business card next one.
Yeah. Give me my agent. Like if that works too.
Hey, I'll take that.
Agent handler.
Like that,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, make sure I don't do dumb things. All right.
That's a full-time job all in itself.
Yeah, ask my wife. It's all good. So, all right, Brian, and then you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brian Cody. I'm the president of Shattermare Comics. So we're another indie publisher in Florida, trying to build the Florida comic scene up. We've got one book out right now called Hardly Heroes, and we've got like now three or four more in the works. So
yeah, the trade's coming, right?
Trade is here. I've got it printed. I've got to ship them all out, all the pre-orders. So.
There you go. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, very cool. So I already am just like, wow, he calls himself the president of Shattermare Comics. So that's absolutely cool. It's like you want to up it. So
more official.
Don't be like, feel any type of way about it if next week I'm the president of Project Titans.
That's right.
We'll see how that plays out. So
you're the executive producer.
Yeah. And then it will go to my head. And then you will get probably a phone call from Nick or my wife and be like, yeah, cool. We blame you. So good times. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So Shattermare Comics. So I remember seeing you guys, Ancient City. It was a couple years ago. And I unfortunately let me change this real quick. That way people can actually see it. But you have this super cool background. So there we go. So there's your super cool background. So you guys have one of the coolest banners that I have ever seen at a con. Yeah, and I remember walking by and seeing that banner and just being like, yo, what the F? Like, that is brilliant and beautiful. And I remember walking over and I'm just like, I'm going to buy their book. And at the time, you didn't even have a book.
No.
Which was just absolutely brilliant because, like, again,
that's why I had to get the banner.
Yeah, but dude, it was absolutely money. So, tell us a little bit kind of about your journey and how you guys got started.
Sure, man. Yeah. So we are a bunch of nerds. My friends and I, obviously, we're all here for that kind of stuff.
Well, of course.
But my friend group and I, we have this Dungeons and Dragons game that's ongoing. We meet typically Monday nights. And so one night we were sitting around the table and drinking. I got my streaming whiskey here. Well, you can't see it, but it's blurred out there. StreamYard is censoring my whiskey. But we were sitting around the table and we're like, well, we've been playing this game for like 3 years at this point, 3 or 4 years. Why don't we, immortalize this? And there's a story I can go into about the previous DM because he unfortunately died of cancer. So we're like, let's, do this for him. Let's do this for us because we're all partial storytellers for this thing. So we decided, well, one of the guys he's been reading comics since like he could read. Like he learned to read reading comics and with his dad and everything. So so we decided, why not? Let's just make a comic. We had a bunch of the notes from the original DM.
That's cool.
For everyone out there who is uninitiated, it's Dungeon Master for the non-D&D nerds out there. But
I knew that one. All right, there you go. For what it's worth, I knew that one.
Yeah, sometimes just throw around terms, and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know if people know that. But so we decided to do it, and so it was his idea to do the comic because Kyle, who's the writer, and me, I wanted to start more or less some business of my own.
Sure.
I've had some experience in music and publishing, that kind of stuff. So I was stoked for the business side and to do something, for myself. Comic was fun. There you go. Perfect. Oh, the banner. There, yeah, we were
There
talking
we go.
about that before we went live. Yeah. Nice. So we did it. We started developing it probably like end of 2020, 2021, like early 2021 during the pandemic. We were all home a lot more, so we had more time to do that kind of stuff. So that's how it started, and then we launched issue 1 February of last year, which was Ancient City Con, because Ancient City Con was like September 2021, so we were taking pre-orders. So we just had like some posters and pictures out, like a little trailer playing at our table. And,
which is brilliant, by the way, because you're at a con making money and you don't even have your product. Like I'm
just as surprised as you, man.
This is fantastic. So as someone who has like sold out of stuff before and literally just left because I don't have any inventory, I'm just gonna start taking pre-orders. Like I'm gonna take pre-orders. Like
yeah, I mean, I was glad people. What's funny about that? Some people, I was expecting horrible results because here we are, like no one knows who we are. We're just some guys sitting at a table asking people for money. But there's actually a decent amount of people who basically donated because I reach out to them, like email, if we had phone number. I have a stack of original pre-order books. So if you're out there and you pre-ordered Hardly Heroes, we do exist. And if you haven't gotten your book, you need to get it. But so there's people that were just, they want to support us, which I thought was really cool. So in order to publish the book, because, most of us didn't really have experience in the industry. We had figured out basically everything along the way, just figure out, okay, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make this happen? So Shattermare Comics was just our idea to start a publishing company because we didn't know who to call or, what. So we're like, well, we need a publishing company to publish our book. So let's start that. So that's kind of how that was born. So one thing led to another,
I absolutely love it.
So is the story based off of your D&D campaign? Is that what it is?
So nice. Hardly Heroes is it's an adaptation because luckily the DM, I joined the group like a year later, but after they started. But the original group, they started in like what's called a homebrew world. So it's not like the official like Dungeons and Dragons, which are the Coast books. It's just like what the DM made up. And then all the characters are original. So there was like no issues there, so we're just telling the story and adapting it. So, and cool. we started with all the original players, but a couple of them dropped out. Some people dropped out as we went just because like starting a business is hard. So, and people have priorities. So, but we eventually found artists and, letter, color, everything. So, so it worked out. We were able to launch the book, and now that we have the publishing company going, we're now getting hit up by other people who want to publish their stuff. Whether it's like a fantasy book or like working with a guy on like a noir horror mystery book, kind of supernatural stuff. So that's cool. It's just slowly building like baby step at a time.
I love it. Very, very cool. All right, so that being said, it's based off a D&D game, right? And for the uninitiated, D&D is Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, which I am not initiated, by the way. But that being said, all right, so with characters, right? And I'm assuming during these Dungeons and Dragons games, at a certain point, like there's characters like in the game that you don't really like, right? Like you kind of like rooting against them. So when you go when you make this story, are you just like, I'm about to like F this dude over? Like this character's finally gonna get their comeuppance.
It's like Game of Thrones. I mean, like people can die at any time because the characters died at any time. So there's some stuff like Kyle's really good at adapting it still to a story. Because like your point, in a D&D game, like we're just a bunch of assholes hanging out playing a game. So we don't necessarily care about the consequences and stuff. We may make stupid decisions, which can lead to like really wacky things. But I think he does a really good job of balancing like developing the story and the characters because he knows what we're all going for, without ruining the actual story arc and like certain dramatic moments or whatever. And then other than that, we leave all the other chaotic shit in the book. So like, yeah, like I don't spoil it, but issue 2, like something pretty crazy happens. Like issue 2, so and it happened in the game. Like
So
that
you gotta-
legit happened.
That's awesome.
So you got to go check out issue
That's
2.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
at least read 2 issues before you. There you go.
No, but I mean that's comics in general, though, right? Like I mean, you're constantly trying to tell
Yeah.
a micro story and then the macro story as well. You know, and it's like a beginning, middle, and end to a beginning, middle, and end to a beginning, middle, and end. And it's all fun times. So you guys have been doing cons for a couple years now. You know, again, you kicked off Aces City, not even have a product, which is a lot of fun. It's a bummer Marvin's not here because Marvin did the same thing. Marvin had art, you know, and he didn't have his comic book, and Marvin was like selling T-shirts and hats and everything for his brand before he even, you know, had his book. To the point where people were just like, "Bro, when's the book coming out?"
Right.
Yeah, but it's
Well,
like,
that's
dude,
good,
you're making, yeah, I mean, he's doing great. He's freaking awesome. So, again, I'm bummed he's not here. I want to see his character has a really cool helmet, and he got the helmet 3D printed, and I want to see it.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks legit.
It looks really
So,
cool.
so that being said, you know, kind of what has your experience been? You know, it shows. You know, we did Brick City together, but you know, what is you guys' experience? Have you had, you know, kind of the good, bad, and the ugly? Is it, you know, been pretty smooth for you guys? You know, what's your experience been?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a mix of all those things. Like we have some really good conventions. There's some I'll say we've pretty much only had like 2. I guess it depends on what you're judging it by. Like,
I mean,
sales
your
or
perspective.
Okay, I don't necessarily judge it by sales because right now, like as an indie company, no one knows who we are. We don't have a major marketing budget, so conventions are a big part of the marketing budget.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, as long as we can either break even or like a lot of the times what I'll do at shows, I mean, you know, like there's a lot of local brick and mortar stores that come to shows. So what I'll do is I'll go like build up a relationship with them, start the conversation, just say, hey, would you like to carry the book? You know, they may carry a handful of issues just to see how it does. You know, that leads to a signing. We were talking about that before the shows. So there's some like intangible benefits that you get to go to shows. I'm sure as you guys are aware that eventually lead to sales, even if like you're not killing it at the show, you know, which is, I mean, ideally you want to like break even at least because you want to make money, not just lose money year after year. But so that being said, in general, most of our shows are still, you know, making money or like somewhat profitable. So by that metric, they're generally good. Most of the shows we go to are great because they're smaller. So like you get to know the coordinator, you get to know the people running the show.
Right.
And the worst shows that we go to for that kind of stuff are the bigger ones.
Yeah, right.
They're all, I shouldn't say all. A lot of them are run by mostly volunteers.
Yeah.
And so like you never get to really talk to the people that run it because they're somewhere. Like you'll never see them. And so if you have a problem, you'll never get a hold of them.
They're counting cash in the back room. They're Scrooge McDuck.
Whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Or like the $80 Wi-Fi or whatever, you know. So,
they're just like all these silly vendors. I got all their money.
Yeah. Or they're, you know, they're like dealing with like celebrities and stuff. So, so they have, you know, it's whatever. But so in that sense, the smaller shows are cool because you really get to know a lot of the people, and you meet. I mean, we met like you guys at Brick City, which Brick City isn't the size of like Tampa Bay or MegaCon or, you know, San Diego or whatever. But I have more interesting time meeting people at Brick City and getting to know you guys than just going to a show where there's just like a sea of people, you know, whatever. So there's that. I'll say there's only a couple really bad dumpster fire shows that we've done, and they're bad because we didn't even get in the door. Like we showed up and they gave our table up.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
so that's my bar. My bar is like, you give our table, yeah, you give us a table when we show up. Great, we're in. Like, I'm probably going to be there next year. You know, like you like
that's a low bar, my friend.
right.
That's a low bar.
That's what I'm saying. My expectation is like there was a show where it was like it might have been the first year they ran it, but they had some issue where they had to turn away people at the door. I found out later because they just weren't taking credit cards. Like they couldn't find a Square reader or something. Their credit card reader broke, so they only were taking cash. So we're like, this floor is pretty empty on like a Saturday afternoon. This is really weird. But, so there you go. So that one was like,
wow,
that was rough. And that was like a 2 or 3 day show. So,
seriously,
you travel, you get a hotel, you show up, you're like,
Can't do
there's like
that.
100 people here. What's the point? So that's my bar. So if people out there are wondering, like,
wow,
what's the worst thing you experience if you don't even get
That's
a
pretty
table
bad.
to show up? Yeah,
That's bad.
and they don't call you when they give up your table or anything.
That's funny.
Just really,
we luckily have not had that experience.
No, we've showed up and someone took our table and then we took somebody else's table.
Yeah.
Shout out to Trace and Leanne. We love you guys.
I said, to be fair, that's karma because we started it.
Yeah.
Show, so.
No, I definitely Tampa last year. I was driving down to Tampa. I made the horrible mistake of deciding to drive down the morning of from Tallahassee to Tampa. And they were sending emails at like 10 in the morning, and they're like, if you're not here by 11, we're giving your table away. And so I'm driving, the tire pressure light's on. And so at this point, it's just in God's hands. Like, we're going to see how this plays out. And I'm texting my buddy that I know is there and being like, hey, can you go check me in? Can you go get my badges?
Yeah, just put something on the table.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm emailing the lady, like saying, like, hey, I'm going to be there. GPS says I'm going to be there at like 11:15. And she's literally like, okay, well, have somebody come pick up your badges or else. I'm just like, shit. So I get my buddy to go pick up my badges. I make it there at like 10:58. I never hear from my buddy if he's got my badges or not. I book from parking, like up the ramp to get checked in. I get in there and I'm just like, oh, Todd Kelly, I'm here. I made it. I made it. And she's like, yeah, you checked in like 20 minutes ago. I'm like, shut the fuck up. What? So then I'm trying to find my buddy and be like, hey, can I get my badges? Like, what's going on? And like, yeah. So no, I haven't got there and anybody gave her stuff.
He was that late because I didn't get to go with him last year. So he wasn't on time. He wasn't on time for the show.
That's a rough drive. Like this from Jacksonville to Tampa, it's like 3.5 hours. So for you guys, probably like 4 or 5.
It's 5.
Yeah, I was not sure.
4.5, 5. Yeah.
And you have to drive through all the speed traps, right? Because you
quickly.
Quickly.
Yep.
So just that you don't get pulled over going. I mean,
it was.
People don't know that pain if they don't live in Florida. So.
No, that was a fun one. And when I finally found my table, the person to my right and to my left were like divvying up my table. Like they were about to like spread their stuff out and like take half each of my table. And they were genuinely sad when I showed up. Like they were planning. And I was like, oh crap, he's here. So shout out to Maria and Dandy. Love you guys. Yeah, no, that was the kind of craziest one. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to be real. If I got to a con and like they were just like, yeah, sorry, we don't have a table for you. Like somebody might be like catching hands on site at that point. Like I don't know how I would react to that one. I might like just spend my weekend boycotting that show, like picking signs like right out front, or maybe go buy a table from Walmart and like set up outside.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. There would be a lot of anger and rage.
Yeah, one of the ones we went to, we did the same thing. We just took it on a table because I even wanted to go talk to the coordinators, and they're just like, "Oh, let me find," or a volunteer. They're like, "Oh, let me try to find the guy." Like, okay, well, we're not just gonna stand around for 3 days or whatever. So, one of the other ones, I was just like, "Okay, well, just refund me now for the table," and then we make the best of it. Like, we'll go check out shops or whatever. So, but.
It's a very positive, productive attitude. Yeah.
You got it. Because otherwise, like, I mean, you know how it is. Like you go into show after show, and it'll burn you out if you focus on the good stuff. So.
Well, and so you start to meet everybody. You start to know everybody who does the shows, and you kind of you know the ones that are run well, and you know the ones that are not. I have to admit, we have a little bit of a mystery up in Tallahassee. So, so Infinity Con is like the main con up here in Tallahassee, and David runs it. We know them; they're awesome. They do their show June or July every year. Well, on Facebook the other day, another show has popped up, and it's coming around in November, and nobody knows who's like running this show. Like I've asked everybody that I know that runs shows like in the Southeast, and nobody knows.
I was going to ask you about that. I saw that. I was like, what is this one? This is new.
I emailed them and was just like, you know, you got any guest spots for comics? Like, what's up? But also just I want to know, like, you know, who's running the show. And you know, they replied and I'm like, yes, send us your info, like blah blah blah. But I still have no idea who's running the show. And they don't have a website. Like they don't have anything where you can sign up to be like a vendor or an artist yet. Like it's so new. When they initially put it on social media, it wasn't even on the Civic Center's website. Now it's on the Civic Center's website now. So I mean, they're just in like the early productions. But it's very interesting because like this new show is coming to town, and it's just like, oh, dude, like what's up with this? Like we don't have multiple shows in Tallahassee like that. That's not how this works.
It's weird because normally they're in something like somebody knows somebody. It's somebody. So.
Well, I text Fallout Nick and was just like, who runs Fallout Comics, and was just like, yo, like, do you know what this is? And we were both like, just you know, trying to dig into it and find out what was going on. Both of us were just like, dude, I have no idea. Like, I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out.
We may have to go espionage and go as not as vendors, but as guests and walk and scope it out. And
bro, look, they give me a table, I'm gonna go be a vendor. I don't.
That's fair.
Sure, they give you the table. Yeah, what is it?
Look, I mean, I'm about to say, like, I get a table. I'm gonna show someone butt off. I'll figure out who runs the con while I'm at the con.
There'll be a bunch of volunteers. We'll never see them.
Yeah, I mean, again, who knows?
If they're trying to go that big, yeah, for sure.
So here's my theory, because we had a couple people watching, and I started talking about that, and now we've gone to like 0 people watching. So David from Infinity Con was watching. I said that shit. Now he's like, Todd's dead to me, and like they're gone.
Oh no,
David, we love you.
You're starting Con Wars.
We love you, buddy. So, no, they're awesome. Love Infinity Con, like I said. So I'm just curious. I'm very curious to see, you know, how this plays out. Because a lot of times too, when there's a new con coming into town, like they reach out to the people who do the other cons, and like it's like mafia wars. Like they like make peace. And,
they're trying to get together. Well, speaking of Dave, I got to hit him up because I have another buddy who's in Tallahassee. So because I couldn't go that weekend, I told him to stop in. He said he was going, and so I got to sign up for that one for sure.
Dude, it's a really good show. It grows every year. It's so much fun. We did pretty well this year. We did pretty well. It was a lot of fun. We never stopped moving or talking. Like it was, I had no voice by the end of the second show. I really haven't got it back yet. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. So I really enjoyed it. And I think, like they set, like an attendance record this year. It was the busiest one they've done. So yeah, no, I would definitely hit them up. I will tell you this though. It's an indie comic heavy show. Like there's a lot of indie comics at it, which I think is cool. But it's just something to be aware of coming into it because there's just, again, a lot of indie comic vendors and artists and stuff.
Yeah, but no, that's great. I mean, I'm sure you can also get a lot of people there from like New Orleans, like Alabama, Georgia.
It's pretty central. So
yeah, we typically do well if there's a lot of people in that same, like we're all indie people, or we go to like a random arts market and we're the only one selling books. Yeah. Like it's everything in between. Then it's like,
well, it's funny you bring that up because I agree. I think it's one of those things where like you either need to be the only indie book, or there needs to be like 20 indie books, and like you'll do great. But like anything, like we did Savannah, man, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years ago, and they had a ton of indie books, but they were all on one side and they were all crammed together. And then they offered us the table super late. We took the table, and so we were just kind of off in the corner, but we were like by all the food, and like we killed it because we were selling indie books and we were by the food, and they were all crammed together on the other side, and like, they were talking over each other. Yeah, I mean, it was just you couldn't hear anybody. But then you came over to us, and it was like us and the popcorn, and then like the soda guy, and so it was great. Like you were just like, oh, well, let me hear about your book, and we were just slinging them left and right.
That's when we'll be at. We're gonna be there instead of Tampa.
Okay, so that's a good one.
They reach out to us. Yeah, that one's pretty good. Originally, I was gonna go up to Raleigh because my buddy, who's one of my partners here, is he's in North Carolina, so he's doing like panel and stuff there. But then they reached out to us for SavannahCon. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna go to Savannah. like drive 6-7 hours and hotel and just sorry, Matt. Good luck.
He'll be good. So, I like it though, because this is a divide and conquer approach. So how many you guys are going to be at 2 different shows or 3 different shows?
2.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be. Originally, I was trying to go to Tampa Bay, which is funny, but then I think it was just too I was gonna go. I think I was gonna split a table with a buddy of mine who lives like that area, like Lakeland or Orlando or whatever. But they'd already closed submissions, so we're just like, well, whatever. But
yeah,
I'll actually get in. I'll hit them up on time next year, and then make sure.
So
try to get them out.
I know one of the tricks is to like sign up for one of their other shows, and then you can like sign up for like their Atlanta show, and then like you can easily sign up for Tampa, and like it's done, easy to go. And their Atlanta show this year was like stupid good from what I heard. I was like really bummed we didn't sign up for it because it's in February, and February is like a no-fly zone. It's just like a no-fly zone for me and my family. All our birthdays are in February, so like I can't do cons. But
that's like the actual Atlanta Comic-Con, right? Not trying
Yeah. So, but it was stupid. Like they had like their guest list was ridiculous. And I heard like the show ended up just being silly. Like a bunch of my friends were just like, "Yeah, I was sold out by Saturday," and I'm just like, "Oh my god!" Like I wish I'd been there. Oh.
Yeah, next year. I was looking at that one too. Or whatever. At some point. That's the thing. There's so many shows now, though. It's like
there is, and
a lot of the same.
One every month, every 2 weeks,
every month, So if you have a family, like you can't go to everyone,
Nope. Well, it's interesting you bring that up. So Florida, I was joking around, and I think it was Steve Ekstrom from Sumerian Comics, and he was telling me there's like 54 shows in Florida.
Damn. Like in a year.
Yeah, in a year there's 54.
Yeah, I believe that. There's just in Tampa, Jacksonville, Orlando, Miami, and Daytona. Yeah, probably got at least
that's the
2 or 3 in those cities, right?
Yeah,
and then not counting like Brick City, like Ocala stuff,
right?
Everything in between. So, in Tallahassee. Sorry.
No, but I mean Tallahassee's got like one. Pensacola's got one. They do Pensacon. But like Florida as a whole, like 54, and like the whole like Central Florida, South Florida is where they're all at.
Yeah, just in Orlando, you probably have like 20. Orlando's probably like 40% of that list.
Jeez, yeah. Oh. But I've done one show in Orlando. I hated it. So,
are you allowed to volunteer? Whatever, or tell me after.
No, I don't care. Whatever. It's Fanboy Expo. I still to this day I hate that show. It was an autograph show. Like we booked a table. So we booked a table pre-COVID. So we booked it pre-COVID, and then post-COVID still had the table available. I will give them credit because the con was like at a resort, and you got like a super like inexpensive like room, like to the point where like, I mean, we could roll down to the show like 5 minutes before it started in bathrobes and like, you know, been good to go. Like, and we had some interesting experiences there. So we ran into Dog the Bounty Hunter everywhere. Like, it was just, he was getting tattoos. Like, we ran into him at the Wawa. Like, it was so interesting. It was a weird show. But the way it was set up is they had all the, like, celebrity guests on, like, the other side of the hotel.
In a different
whole different conference room.
Like a whole other...
Okay. And all the signage and everything pointed towards them, and all the vendors were over here on the, again, like legit, like solid 5 to 10 minute walk away, and like there's barely any signage, like, and it was a bad show. So
yeah, I've been to a show like that where they split like, or just like the vendors and the artists or whatever you want to call it, like and that's rough, because all the they're gonna advertise for the vendors. Or the celebrities or whatever.
Well, I mean, I remember I got into like a debate with somebody who ran the show, and you know, they were just trying to make sure all their celebrities hit their minimums, that way they didn't have to pay them out. That's what it was. They were fooling everybody in, and because everybody was making up shows, like, I mean, there had been show on top of show on top of show, but yeah, I don't really have any intention. I probably will never do any of the fanboy expos ever again, just because of that particular setup. I do want to try MegaCon. I think this year we're going to go. I think we're going to go with Fallout Comics though. Like, I think we're going to go and like, you know, kind of be their like signer for, you know, a couple days and work their table.
If you don't, you can come with us.
Perfect. So
probably have our table. To be honest.
We have it on air.
We do.
We got it.
So but I want to do it.
I mean, I pre-booked for next year. This year we're there. So
okay.
Nice. I like it.
So
there we go. We might work that out then. But yeah, I want to go. But also I'm almost like too lazy to book it. Like, because I think one time I went to book it and they're like, yeah, you couldn't do it online. You have to send something in the mail. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not. I don't know. It was years ago, but like.
Oh, okay. Like when it was before it was bought by like Fan
probably, maybe.
Yeah. Well, now the problem is the company owns is in Canada. Like, I have to deal with those guys. I'm calling like some Canada number. They don't know who I am. Like, what? I'm like, yeah, I paid to get a table at your event. Like, I need help getting this stuff, like, issues resolved. Passively aggressive Canadians. They're polite, but they're passive aggressive. Okay, it's not
respect.
But yeah, oh man, yeah, MegaCon has its problem. You know what's weird though, and whatever. If people hear me say, I don't give a shit.
Same.
So they arbitrarily like they'll wait list you. Be like, oh, we curate all the people that we bring in, whatever, so on and so forth. But if you're just getting like an artist alley table, you know, you're not even trying to like do the red carpet like a guest or a vendor spot or whatever. They, at least this year, they had a bunch of empty tables. Even though I guarantee if you applied, they probably would have been like, oh, we curate the same stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, if you're at a table, like file in, grab 2. Or in our case, take their table or whatever. But because that was one of those. But yeah, so it's really weird how they run that kind of thing. It's like, why would you not let people in? Like, just do first come first serve then. If you're at the end of the day worried, like, oh, everyone grabbed 2 tables, so it looks like we filled in all the space. Like, so we're joking. We're like,
off.
Yeah, we were joking. We're like, we could just buy weekend tickets, roll our stuff in the door.
Yeah, I mean, just go. Right.
Nobody different.
Yeah, as long as we're there Wednesday or Thursday, whatever the cutoff day is. You know?
Well, we've joked around about doing that with the podcast. Like, let's just get press passes, and then we'll just roll up and sell comics too.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like,
might as well. I mean, I'm not. Disclaimer: I'm not suggesting in case random MegaCon people are.
Yeah. Anybody that we ever request press passes from, we're not going to do that. It's okay.
We're for sure not going to do it.
Yeah, definitely won't do that. But don't pay attention to what we have at our table. Well, yeah, because I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying that like MegaCon. Again, I've never been. I've never been to MegaCon as a vendor or a guest or whatever. And they were saying it's like, yeah, like the parking is miserable, and like sometimes you have to walk like 30 minutes like from where you park just to even get to the show. And I'm just like, that sounds like
you still pay. You still pay every day for parking,
dude. What? Like,
and if you don't get there like before people show up, like 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever, before doors open, yeah, you're parking like a field and walking across the field to get in. So
you're not selling this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of issues with MegaCon.
It's again, look, it's on my I just want to do it to say I did it list. Because look, San Diego and New York, I want to do San Diego and New York. And like
I would, if I could trade in my table for MegaCon to do like New York next year, I would in a heartbeat. Even Fanboy I've heard is better. So I have the opposite opinion of you guys. Like I did the Fanboy Expo, but I hear they're better running shows than Fan Expo is.
So, and I will say this. We probably just had a bad show. Like it probably was just a bad show. It was just coming out of COVID. I almost gave in and booked it again this year because they're going to have Kevin Eastman there. And I was just going to be like, I want to go get like a signature from Kevin Eastman. Like I want to go. And if I'm going to go, I might as well like go table, like, Right. So I almost did it. Like but it's the same weekend as Dragon Con. But yeah, Fanboy. I mean, again, I had a bad experience at that show. We'll see what happens if we ever work with them again. I'm confident, that's just a bad show. So we'll see. But
yeah, it could very well. But yeah, that's my backup plan. I like bigger shows. I'll just bring my stack of stuff to get signed, and if I want to get separated or whatever, like when I think the year before when we were at MegaCon, that was when they brought in all the guys who did all the best Batman runs.
Yeah.
So I just like picked up copy of Dark Knight Returns and stuff. I'm like, here's all my stuff for Frank Miller.
There you go.
Here's all my Greg Capullo stuff. So, but
I like that. You know what? It makes it a win. I'm good with stuff like that. Like, and again, like you said, networking and just kind of getting out there. Some of our first shows, I mean, those are the biggest things that we took away from the first shows was networking and learning. And now I am a little more just like, all right, cool. Like, I want to sell. Like, I want to sell and have fun. I do not want this inventory to return to my garage. And like, I'm a little more that than I probably was in the beginning. But that being said, I also enjoy randomly meeting celebrities. Like, that's fun. Have you had any experiences where you've just got to meet them or hang out with them or anything like that?
In some of the shows that a couple like in past shows when I used to go go when I was younger. But since working, like sometimes I'll just talk to people because when like if it's slow on like a Sunday, like less people are at celebrity booths. So like there was a show earlier this year, Collective Con in Jacksonville. Which, they had some of the big voice actors. So
that's Chris and them. They do a good job.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm trying to remember Billy West. Yeah, the guy who does Futurama characters. So I just went over there and talked to those guys, because no one's in line. I wasn't going to be paid to get a photo, but I was just interested to ask them like about voice acting and stuff. So
I met John Swayze and Chuck Huber, who do like a bunch of Dragon Ball, and John does like My Hero Academia and stuff like that. I met him at Collective Con a couple years ago. I love Collective Con. Collective Con is fun.
Collective Con's cool. Yeah, I don't have anything bad to say. It's like because it's growing a little bit. Well, in the first couple of years, I had a rough patch, like when they were bouncing around at venues.
I did them when they were
the Equestrian Center.
No, they were
downtown. Was it downtown?
Yeah, they were closer to where do they do the Gate River run at?
It's the
they were in that area.
Shrine Osborne Center.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like downtown by the river, right?
Yeah. So that's when I did. When I did it, we did it 2 years in a row, and they were there.
Okay, that's probably the newest. the newest one, because one, they were not the equestrian center, but where they do the county fair. So like no AC, half of it is outside. And then before that, they did it. It wasn't downtown. It was like city center area, like a smaller.
It was close to shoot. I don't know. It was close to where the Jaguars play. Like I don't know.
Yeah. So
but yeah,
that's a nice venue. And they're
well,
like
the year we were there, the AC wasn't working the Friday. We got the AC going by the Saturday. But I remember Friday I had to buy like 2 different T-shirts because I had like sweat through. But I still had a fun time. It was a great show. But yeah, I don't know. They're fun. I like them. We've done it twice. We'll probably do it again pretty soon. Just nice. But I love Jacksonville. Anytime we can go do shows in Jacksonville, like I'm about that life.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, for you guys, it's not that far of a drive. For me, I just get up and I drive like 5 minutes downtown. Yeah. So it's one of the few times I don't have to like get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, drive 3 or 4 hours, whatever. So
yeah, that's one. Do they have anything else other than Collective? Like, is there?
So they have Collective, Bold City, yeah.
Bold City, that's like April, right?
Yeah. Collective and Bold City are like I think 2 weeks apart. One's like end of March, one's April, 2 or 3. Yeah. So, yep, we did both of those this year. Because the guys who do Bold City do Ancient City Con.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. Okay, and I mean that makes sense. That's right down. I mean, yeah, that's right down the street from you guys. Like I always feel like you should do the hometown shows. Like it just doesn't make sense to not do the hometown shows.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man. So shows, they're a toss up. I mean, if you're gonna go to a convention, like I've never had a bad convention that I went to. I used to go to Dragon Con every year for like 3 or 4 years straight. It was a blast. It was a massive party downtown Atlanta.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, like you said, I mean, they're the marketing, how you grow, how you network. I mean, I highly recommend anybody who's ever going to get into this, like, just start going to shows. Like, go to shows, talk to people, meet people, do the fun thing. But yeah, I don't know. We've had some interesting ones. Like I said, we did the fanboy where we ran into Dog the Bounty Hunter everywhere. He was getting a tattoo. We ran into him with a Wawa. We ran into him just walking around the hotel. Like he was everywhere. Like at one point, I thought there were like 5 people cosplaying him. That's all off the But yeah, and then there's been a couple of them, but they're fun. I love cons. So they're good times.
Yeah, I would say, and if you're like specifically if you're in comics, you should. It's like a lot of things. The people who run the conventions, it's kind of like they want to see you put in your dues.
Yeah.
So like they want to know that you're going to be consistent and you have a following. Because for us, for us, like year one, I mean, we had to pay for like every table we did. We were just some random artist.
Same.
But like year 2, then people start to go, oh, hey, I'm doing the show like later. You talk to people, they're like, you want a table? I'm like, me? To give me a table? So then it's cool because then, they're like, oh, yeah, you're going to be here. We see you guys. You haven't like bailed out of whatever you're doing after a year.
There you go.
So then they'll comp you a table. And it's like, great. Now I can make money regardless because all I had to do is pay for gas for like a day or 2 or a hotel.
Right.
And so that's what, I mean, if we're going to like, for people, if they don't have the experience doing that and they want to do that, that's kind of like a peek behind the curtain. So like, obviously what you sell is all relative. Some people will like totally bullshit just to make like talk themselves up. Like I saw you at Brick City, you're selling stuff. So like we do okay depending on the show. Some people will just be like, oh yeah, man, I did so well, but they're really mad because like no one came by their table and they packed up and left like middle of day one. But so sales are relative, but part of it's like don't be afraid to ask. Just it's like the classic saying, like if you ask, worst they can say is no.
Yep.
Right.
So and then if the more stuff you get, that's how you, instead of worrying about, oh, I have to now at least make my table back. Right. Now it's just like, well, all I did was show up. I made money.
There you go.
So there you go.
And I think that's spot on. I will say this, at least this has been my experience. If you want to be guested at shows, first be flexible, because a lot of times they're not going to give you a ton of notice. That's at least been my experience so far. Usually when we've been guested, it's been like, hey, the show's in 3 weeks. You want to come up? And we're just like, yeah, cool. We'll do that. That's fine. So it depends. And then again, like you said, I mean, like we're finding it where it's like, okay, cool. We did the show, 2 years in a row, and then they offered a guest spot, on the third year, and then stuff like that. And like you said, I mean, you got to network and you got to do this and you got to do that. And also, don't leave early. Leaving early will get you. And we've had a couple, cons that, won't guest us because we had to leave early on, the show. Ancient City was one of those. Ancient City was a con where we left early on the Sunday. Now, there was 2 reasons. One, there was some family stuff going down. The other reason was we had sold out of our crap. Like, we just didn't have any merch left, so it just didn't make sense to, like, really stick around. So it was just like, okay, cool, we're BSing. Anyway, so let's get out of here.
Yeah, you're just waiting for people at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like, so it was, whatever. But yeah, I'd agree. And then again, it's whatever. We're notorious for being late to shows. Like it's just like
same here, yeah.
we're late to the point where, I mean, I've had people literally be like, hey, I want to have you show up, I want to have you guest, don't be late. Like, that's just be on time every day. You don't have to be early, but be on time.
They're gonna start telling us it's like an hour and a half before the show actually starts.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
30 minutes before it starts.
Start setting an early alarm or something.
Yeah,
that's what I did. Well, I think most of the people don't know that, specifically us, we probably drive to way more shows than the people that are at those shows.
Yeah,
because we're all the way up at the tip top of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So like every show we go to, it's not like we're like, oh yeah, this is like 10-minute drive.
Yeah.
So at least we have more of an excuse. If you're driving 5 hours to get to a show, you're hauling ass. So, like, if you show up like half a day, and you're like 15 minutes up the road, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We've been late to Infinity Con, so I can't really talk too much.
I mean, as far as
Yeah.
con etiquette goes, like I wouldn't tell people. There's definitely like some rules that are unspoken, or people will tell you to follow. Like, generally don't leave early. Yeah,
don't leave early.
But yeah, like it's, you definitely don't want to make it a habit if you're also trying I will say the first time we've got guests to places, that's when I start showing up on time and early.
You know what? Yeah, spot on.
Now I get more responsible. If I'm paying you for the table,
right?
If I show up halfway through day 3, I want my goddamn
right. That's me.
I paid for it. It's there. Right. It's reserved for me.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
the ones that run Ancient City, I had to leave early on them that one year, and then Bold City, because they were doing Bold City, and they moved Bold City into a mall.
Oh, that was that year.
Yeah, so they moved Bold City into a mall, and it was like not the best mall in town, and I knew that because the Regency, and I was just like, they're trying to get a shot, and. We ended up having some family stuff, and I was just like, all right, I'm not going. Like, I'm just gonna go.
If it makes you feel any better, there's a police station in that mall.
It doesn't, like, at all. And but Austin from Brick City was at that show, and he still to this day gives me like infinite amount of grief because, like, there was a table with Todd Kelly on it, and he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna get to hang out with Todd. And like, I never showed up.
There.
Yeah, we did not attend at all, and like. Again, there's family stuff. Like, I should have messaged them and been like, hey, we're not going to make it. Give the table to somebody else. Well,
so, I'll typically tell people because, like, I mean, you have a day job. I have like a day. Like, sometimes on a Sunday, I'm just like, I got to drive 2-3 hours to get ready and get up tomorrow for a regular full-time job.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's not exactly, I can't like stay here, hang out. And then drive 3 or 4 hours home, and
especially if it's slow, man. I mean, especially like, and that's the tough part on like Sundays of like 3-day shows that have no business being 3-day shows. It's just like you're there on the Sunday, it's 2:00, it's dead. You're probably going to get a little bit of a rush around 4, like right before it's going to close, and it's actually going to piss you off. You're going to make a couple sales, but it's going to piss you off because you could be packing. It's like It's like the wait
As you're
staff.
packing.
Yeah, it's the waits. It's like the wait staff when you show up at the restaurant like 30 minutes before it's supposed to close. Like they do not like you. Like that. That's how it is. But no, I'm with you. Like I mean, so again, for us, it's usually like, can I make it home before bedtime? Like, can I make it home before my kids' bedtime? Like, I want to be there for bedtime. And so a lot of times my goal is to sell out and then like give me an excuse to leave early. Like that's my
there you go.
Like, okay, cool. We sold out of what we brought. We made money. I'm going to leave. And if anybody has to say about it, like cool.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been lucky enough a couple of times. So it's funny you mentioned the individuals who inflate their sales. So I do sales for a living. Like this is just my Monday through Friday. I work. I'm a district sales manager for a Verizon dealer. Like this is just what we do. I go around. I teach selling. Like we sell at events. We sell at things. Like it's whatever. It's what we do. It's fun. And we've been at shows before, and we've had individuals walk up, and they're just like, "Yeah, I did. I did X amount of dollars. I did this. I did that." And it's like, "Hey, look, man, good for you. I hope you did. I genuinely, I hope everything you're telling me is accurate. If it's not, it's all good. I can help you. Like I can teach you how to sell. Like I can. That's fine. This is what we do." But if your numbers are right, like then absolutely fantastic. I wish you the best. Like the thing is when I walk out of here, I'm not going to have any inventory in my cart. So like, best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, and people like that are only hurting themselves.
Yeah,
because you can just do the math. You can do like an ROI or whatever you want to call it, and just say like, okay, this is how much my expenses were for this show.
Sure.
Was it worth it? Do I want to sign up for this again next year?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier, is the other stuff that comes with it worth it if you're working, networking and stuff?
Well, and I think sometimes too, like again, like if you see somebody who's doing it well, go pick their brain or just watch them. Watch what they do and watch, what works for them. And like, I'll throw this out there. The biggest miss that I constantly see at shows, well, there's two, but I'm just going to go with the biggest one right now. The biggest miss is people don't ask for the sale. It's a very simple thing. They don't ask for the sale. And I share this all the time, and it's whatever, but it's the biggest thing. They don't ask. Like, okay, would you like to take that? Does that sound good to you? Like, just very simple, like closing statements, like, like, how does that sound? Like, just whatever. But they don't ask for the sale. They'll tell you about it. They'll tell you about the price. And then there's just this awkward ass silence. And people either go for it, which, hey, great, cool, you got your sale. Or they kind of make the awkward excuse and they walk away. And those are your scenarios. But if you at least ask for the sale, give them the opportunity to either say yes or say no, and then just move on.
Yep. And talking about sales, you're just leaving money on the table at that point.
Yeah, 100%. You should talk to everybody who walks by your table. I mean, flat out greet them, be nice, smile. They might walk by you 7 times, and if you greet them 7 times, on the 8th time, they're going to stop by your table and they're going to want to talk to you. So, hey, they've smiled and greeted me every single time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, one of the best jobs I ever had was like commission sales job.
Yeah.
Everyone should do that if you want to run a business.
Oh my God, it's great.
If you want to be in sales, because most people don't know what you're talking about. They just don't think about it.
Right.
Because they're just like, they're talking to people, they're excited to be there, and they obviously you want to sell your book or whatever.
Sure.
But they either don't have the confidence or they have that awkward feeling where they're like, oh, it's weird if I ask this person. This is weird if I say, oh, we have this for sale. How many you don't have to be super cocky, but you don't have to be like, how many sales on my book? How many copies of my book would you like to walk away with? Sir, madam. But like simple, like, hey, we have this cover available. What do you think? You want A, B, or C? Like that kind of stuff. Like they don't think about that. So
well, it's even from like a merchandising standpoint. Like there's a lot of things you can do to set your table up better, and everyone's got a little bit of a different opinion. So like you'll notice at a lot of shows, and I hate this merchandising, but I mean it is what it is. A lot of people set it up where it's basically there's like a barricade between themselves and like the customer, and it's just like, okay, cool, like you're setting yourself up to be like a Walmart at the con. Like they're gonna, if they buy your stuff,
like an end cap.
No, that's it. There's no personal connection in any way, shape, or form. Like if they buy it, it's because they like the cover. Like you didn't sell it; they bought it. It's different. And again, everyone's different. Don't get me wrong. Like I was talking to someone at Infinity Con, and like they were talking to me. They're like, you don't price your stuff. Like they price everything. They put prices on every single product. And I was like, no, I don't price my stuff. I want people to ask me. I want to talk to them. I want to tell them about the stories. At the end of the day, I want readers. Yes, I want sales, but the main part is I want readers. So
exactly. I'm trying to touch your face.
So if somebody comes up and they're like, okay, cool, I like that cover, I'm going to buy it for $10 or whatever, odds of them reading it are 50-50. But if they talk to me, they build a connection with me, and I tell them about the story and they're bought into the story, and then they buy it for the exact same $10, but then they go read it and then they follow us on social media, they support us, and then they do these. That's a lot more impactful, and I'd rather have that.
So we try call in the business kids a super hot fire lead.
There you go. That's it, dude. Like that.
Like that's technically, if they bought it, you closed them. So
well, yeah, but I mean, still, like it.
But yeah,
it's one of those things where, like, again, know what you want in terms of what are you trying to do. Like, and again, I'll tell you all day. Like, I mean, look, I'm competitive. Like, I love having fun with it. I love if there's a publisher there that's like way bigger than I am. I want to compete with them. Like, I want to outsell them that day. I will walk around and talk to everybody I know at a con. Hey, how are you doing? What are you selling? Like, how many have you done today? Okay, I've done, you've done 7. I've done 10. Like, cool. How can we get you to 10? Like, I'm shooting for 30. What are you going to get to? Like, and I will do that like all day, every day. It's fun. And again, if they're struggling, like I'll step in and help. Like there was one show where we sold out. And I just went and sold at my buddy's table. I was just like, I got you. Like, I'm just going to leave my stuff. Like, and I just went and sold his stuff the rest of the day.
Bet. So you guys can have our table at MegaCon. I'm just going to give you the bucks.
Dude, I'll do it.
Hey, we'll do it.
I'll do it all day. I'll do it all day. It's fun. Like, and again, but that's it's fun. You're selling a cool product. And that's why I love like shows. And so Brick City, Brick City is a perfect example because I was talking to somebody and they were kind of dogging Brick City a little bit, and I wasn't a fan of it. But they were kind of giving it a little grief because they were like, oh, well, they only saw X amount of people. And it's just like, how many people do you need? Like, because you as an individual are only going to see so many at a show, right? You're only going to have so many. If there's, say 100,000 people at MegaCon, well, there's also
not seeing
like
100,000 people.
Yeah, there's also like a few thousand vendors. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, yeah, you're not seeing that. So, like, you're maybe going to see 50 that day that are going to stop at your table and talk to you. So what's your close rate on those 50? How many sales did you get? How many readers did you just get? And, if you can go do that at a smaller show, what's the difference? Like, who cares? Like, if you're still seeing 50 people, like, what's it matter if you did it at a Brick City or you did it at a MegaCon? Like, who cares?
Right. Yeah. It's much like let the collectors, the vendors do quantity over quality. Like it's much better as like indie people like us. You want a quality reader because I will take someone who will read all 90 plus whatever amount of issues we end up with Harley Heroes.
There you go.
7-8 days out of the week. Then some guy that comes by and is like, sure, whatever, it's $6. I'll try it.
Right.
Like, okay, well, sure. I mean, I'll take your money. I'm not going to take your money.
Right.
But I know that guy is probably, honestly, never even going to read the book.
And he may not even come back and get the next one.
I mean, I've had people come by because you start to see a lot of the same people come by at certain shows, and like I've straight up asked people because they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, how's it going, guys? You're the Shattermare guys." I'm like, "Yeah, man." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I picked up copy issue 1." As I'm talking to them, I'm like, "Oh, did you read it? Like, how'd you like it?" And they're like, "Oh no, I haven't gotten to it yet."
I haven't got to it.
Yeah, like there you go. So I know immediately like. I just give the guy the basic, okay, cool. Well, we're on issue X now, and then let them figure it out. So,
no, my favorites though, my favorites are the ones that buy it on like Friday and come back to you on Saturday and like are giving you feedback on the book, good, bad, or ugly. I've definitely gotten like some harsh feedback, but like those are my favorites. Like just absolutely, they make it completely worth it. Like I'm just like those are my favorites by far.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, that another thing that kind of with the guys that if they'll like talk themselves up or whatever, whatever they're trying to fake until they make it. Like,
sure, whatever.
Ego is a big part of it because if you can't accept criticism, then you're not going to improve and you're not going to grow. Like,
so that's very true. I will say this though, at a con, I am not in the mindset for criticism. Now, it depends who it's coming from. So like if you and I are talking and you give me feedback or criticism, I'm good. That's fine. You've created your own comic book. You have your own experiences. And if you give me feedback or criticism, that's probably going to help me grow. I'm good. However, if it's somebody on the other side of the table who's coming back and giving me feedback or criticism.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about that specific example. Like if you have the guy that read it like that night and came back to tell you about it and it's bad, then you're like to me, I'm not necessarily going to be like, oh, great, I'm going to just quit and go,
Oh, no, I was ready to like fight. I was ready to fight.
I might joke. I might meme on the guy to Kyle after he walks away. But
oh yeah. No, Nick knows. Like Nick knows that I'm like it took everything I had to like not reach across that table and fight somebody.
But like you do make some mental notes, because if they are that committed to like, hey, I bought the book and I read it, and the next day, I had a guy who so like on our Patreon we've got the digital copy of the book. Like you can buy it and get off. And the deal there is like, I know still a lot of people don't read digital comics, but you pay the whatever, like it's like the price of the book, so like $6 a month, you get all the back issues. So you could literally pay $6 a month. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this out loud. Whatever. You pay $6 a month, you read all the back issues. You can quit a month later. I don't care. But like I had a guy subscribe. He read all, I think up to 5 at that time, and he sent me a bullet pointed list of criticism of like, hey, here's something with your story, like here's things. I hired that guy as my story editor. He's the story editor for everything we do now, because that guy not only paid, he read it, and he was willing to sit down and give us objective, not just like, oh, this sucks.
Like, at least they were
kill yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like he's like, hey, this is what you do. I think you could do this. And I talked to him like, hey, do you write and stuff? He's like, yeah, I write. So it's that same kind of thing. He does have some experience.
It's somebody who knows what he's doing. It's not just some random person.
Right. Yeah, because if it's a random person, obviously you have to judge how valuable the feedback is. But like that guy, I'm like, wow, you actually spent the money, took the time. You gave me objective information I can use. How much can I pay you for a review?
I respect that. No, I've got 2 to this day that I'm willing to fight. And so one of them, I did a book called Atlas Rising, which follows a YouTube influencer named Randy Santel. Randy has a very hardcore fan base. And so we did this book. Oh crap, I thought my kid was awake. So we did this book for him, and one of his fans reached out to let me know that I did not do a good enough job with Randy's dialogue, and that I did not work enough of Randy-isms into the book. And he's like, in this page, Randy should have said this. On Randy should have said that. And I'm just like, I worked with Randy on the effing book.
Randy's the one that edited it.
Yeah, I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like
if you'd like to tell him,
dude. Yeah, I mean, I was just like, "Are you?"
So here, let me forward you to Randy himself, and you can tell him what he should have said.
Yeah, I know Randy would have shot me after that, but yeah, I mean, I'm just like, dude, what are you talking about? And then we had one for Project Titans, who came and like tried to pitch himself to be our letterer, like it was just dogging on the book, like we just dogged the book out.
Was he naked? You like?
Yeah, I mean, dude, literally. And this was like Saturday morning at like Tampa, and I was so excited going into it. And he came, and I mean, I am telling you, he brought like his portfolio on his iPad, and was just like, "Oh yeah, you should hire me to be your letterer. I can redo this, and I can redo this." And like I was like, I mean, I was just like, "Oh, dude, like you're."
Are his letters good though?
No, it wasn't. It was
okay.
I think it was.
If I remember what he had didn't even have letters.
Yeah, it was just there was some, but it was not good. Like it just wasn't.
Oh no,
it wasn't a good setup, and the thing was like we had just redone the lettering, and that's why I was so annoyed because the first print, like the lettering wasn't great. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand. Like you needed to hire a professional letterer. Like I let the original artist was like, yeah, I'll do it for like $5 a page. Like, fantastic. Like, you go do that. By the way, that's bad. Don't do that. So we learned and we got new lettering, right? And we got a new letterer. And that's why I was so annoyed though, because I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like we just redid the lettering. Like I initially was like, wait, did we give him one of the first prints? Like what, and I was like genuinely perplexed. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like this lettering is fantastic. Like this is great. Like I chose this guy over like 5 others. Like I was so perplexed, but he was just like lobbying to get a job. But yeah, he was like negging us up, and I spent like legit the next 3 hours like just pissed off, like just, and it was like angry selling. Like it's the best way I can describe it. Like I was just selling to people, and I'm just like, yeah, check out this lettering. It's fantastic. Like,
just the letter.
Oh yeah, dude. I wasn't even talking about the story. I'm like, look at this lettering. It's great. Like, what's it about? Read the letters. Like, I mean, that's how it so, yeah.
Yeah, I could. Oh man, I had this one guy. We were looking for initial artists. Was he an artist? Colorist. Anyways, I think I may have seen a little bit of the stuff, but and he was even recommended to me to somebody. So I was like, okay, this guy, like, typically, if you're vouching for him, this guy should be okay.
Sure,
and
should be.
He oh man, it was so bad. He led with the resume thing where he's like, oh yeah, I work for Marvel and I do all this. And I was like, yeah, no offense, but like, I don't give a shit. I want to see the quality of your work. And he was like, oh, well, if you can't handle professional, I'm like, I guess not. Sorry, man. Like, my bad. You're too good for us, Go work at Marvel. And, oh, well, we'll see if Disney sells them off, I guess. But let me know how that works out for you. So, yeah, you have those people on the other side where, like, they try to gas you up instead of, tearing you down. And it's like, okay, well, can I actually see what you do?
Right.
Like pro tip, what you actually do matters more than who you've done anything for. Like,
right.
So.
Well, it's funny you mention that because we met. He was an inker for Marvel and DC. Did inks, and he did it. Like the '90s and early 2000s and everything. So he was mostly a cool guy. But we met him through a friend, and he kept like hitting us up. And he's just like, yo, like, is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything I can do for you? And like never would talk prices or anything like that. He was just like, yo, you got any work? You got any work? And I didn't. Like I didn't have work at the time. A lot of the people that I was working with, when they did the lines, they would do the inks as well. Like they just did the whole part.
Typically,
I didn't need an inker. Like that was all he did. Like he didn't do the stuff. But so I finally like found myself where I'm like, I literally was like, okay, cool. Like I had this artist. I'm like, all right, just do the pencils. Like just how much for the pencils? Like I'm gonna work with this guy. And I'm gonna let him do the inks. And then he hit me up with a god awful price.
Oh man!
And it was a god awful price, and it was a god awful timeline. Like it was just like a he'll get to it when he gets to it. He wanted all the money up front, and I was just like, hey man, like, I tried, all good. I'm gonna go back to my other guy, and he's gonna get it done in like 3 days. But yeah, I don't know. I really try to like go out of my way to work with people. Like I love working with a bunch of different people, and then unfortunately, I've just been burned enough times at this point where I'm just like, and now I'm just choosing what's just best for me. Like whatever is what I need at the time. Like that's what I'm going to go with, and whoever's ready to work will work together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I ended up mostly working with people out of the country, like as far as art and stuff, because and I make efforts to work with people even in Florida, in the States, almost every time. Like they're not professional, they're not timely, or they make excuses, or they're just outrageous pricing. Whereas people overseas, they're talented. Like so, they're qualified. They know their shit. They want the job. Like they want the work. And
they'll get it done.
They'll get it done, and they're great. Like they're easy to work with. And then if it's a country where like the exchange rate's favorable, we're not paying crazy prices that people demand in the U.S. for shit work or completely unprofessional, like, you know, or people who just want to be your friends, like maybe that guy was, he was just like sweet talking you. I've had people like that where I've like, yeah, I mean, another thing is whoever you're working with, like for, you know, for people with less experience, like it's just always remember like business up front, get pricing,
put an agreement in place,
everything,
some type of written agreement,
and in writing, because I've had people where they're like, oh, I just want to be your friend. I'm like, what? Like, do you want to get paid for your work? And they're like, no, or you can pay me for this. I'm like, if you don't even value your own work,
right,
then what is, like, that to me is a giant red flag.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they're going to in the future want some kind of favor from you. It's like a mafia thing. And then you're like, I'm not in debt to you. Like, tell me what you cost me, you know, or let's work out some, like, I don't know, whatever. If it's like if it was like a royalty situation, sure, yeah. But like,
sure.
Yeah, it was just like a service, you know.
So I find I end up having to get a lot of my interiors done overseas, and then like my covers I'll get done from people I meet like at shows and stuff like that. Like I'll try to get them to do the covers because I have found that if you get somebody that you do a bunch of shows with to do a cover for you, and then you do a bunch of shows with them, it's really easy to sell that cover because you're just like, hey, so and so is like two tables over. They'll sign it for you. And I mean, you will just sling that cover.
Yeah, if it's a cover, for absolutely, yeah. Because then, yeah, exactly. Like, hey, my buddy's over there. He did this cover. You want to have him sign it?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, cover work, I think the most people we work with are people from, like, shows in the States for, like, variant covers. But, yeah, as far as, like interior work, because on the same token, like, all these Western artists, all they want to do is cover work. Like they want to like cover art celebrities.
Dude, that's it. Yeah.
So it's like if you need someone to actually do pencils, like an actual comic book, not a pinup or a cover.
Yeah.
Like it's actually kind of hard to, in my experience, it's kind of hard to find people.
I agree.
Unless it's like something I really want to do, or like you're just paying them an arm and a leg commission wise.
And that's part of it too. And again, like it's all done on their timetable and not yours. We've started working in like bonuses for like hitting deadlines. Where
good,
it's like, all right, you want X amount per page. If you hit this deadline, you're going to get that. If you miss the deadline, you're going to get less. If you beat the deadline by a sizable matter, you're going to get more. And put stuff like put incentives in like that. We talk about like commissions, like you kind of work the incentives in there. And all of a sudden, people get really good. I did have one guy. I had one artist that man, he got this from my kid's book, my all ages book, Sheldor, and he did like 12 pages in like 13 days.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And like the quality was like pretty solid. Like it wasn't not as high level as like my regular guy, but I mean it was pretty decent for, and again it was a Christmas like story. So like the way he did it, like it works perfect. Like the art works perfect with it being a Christmas story. Like it's brighter, it's a little more childish because it's Christmas and stuff like that. But yeah, he knocked it out in like 13 days. And it was so funny because I remember like talking to him about it taking 3 months. And like in my head, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll pull this out of this check, this out of this check. And he was done in like 13 days. And I'm just like, wow, cool.
Was that like pencils, inks, and colors?
Colors, yeah.
Wow,
everything with the letters.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Oh, dude, I was just like he kept sending me pages. Like every day he was sending me the page. Like I'd wake up. And here's the inks and the pencils, and he's like, "Let me know what you think, and I'll color it." And then I'd send him a couple like notes.
Yeah,
he'd have them changed by lunch,
plus revisions. Wow.
Yeah, and then I'm getting like the colored page by dinner. I'm just like, I don't know what to do about this. Like,
I need up your guy. I want to see the work.
Bro, I literally was like, I don't know. Like, I'm so used to having so much more time in between like pages, he was making me work, and I was just like, wow, okay. Like I didn't plan on having to have all this together already. Like I figured I'd have like 3 months.
That's awesome. You make a really good point about the incentives because it's like it's really weird when you even work out a commission, a page rate, whatever the payment is, and then they just completely drop the ball because they're contractors, they're self-employed. And it takes a lot of discipline to stick your own schedule, Same. So it's surprising the amount of people you're just like, okay, I'm going to give you exactly what you want. And then, like you said, 3 months later, you're like, why am I just getting pencils?
Right.
That kind of stuff. I was like, you agreed to this. If you want more money or you need a certain timetable, just tell me and we can work it out. But
well, it's funny. I don't know about you, but me personally, I don't negotiate rates. I can either afford your rate or I can't. And if I can't afford your rate, I'll wish you the best, but I'm not going to ask you to work for, less than whatever you think your rate is. And I've always said this, it's just how I work. So if I give you your rate and we agree to a timetable, and typically I make that timetable with a 2-week buffer in towards what I actually need. Sure. And if we still can't meet that timetable, that's where I'm usually just come on, guys, seriously, I get it. Stuff happens. I swear to gosh, stuff happens a lot. It's just
who knew? So much random stuff always had. I getting into this business, I just assumed this is either your full-time job, which is even worse if it's their full-time job, right? Because it's it's your business, and you're just gonna I am literally trying to give you money. I want to pay you.
Right.
And if it's a part-time freelance stuff, it's you don't know because they're not going to advertise, hey, I only do this for fun as a hobby, and sometimes I get paid for it. So it's just kind of roll the dice. Yeah, I remember, man, when we were still developing Harley Heroes, we probably went to I don't know if this is this for you guys, but 8 colorists before we landed on someone, just doing sample page after sample page because.
So I didn't have the challenge with the colors, but with Project Titans, before I actually landed on the artist Keox. By the way, Keox, I love you, buddy. Before we landed on him, it was probably 7 or 8, and I had somebody who I paid him for. I won't do this ever again, but I did the half up front for the first 24 pages, and they ghosted me. So I paid him for 12 pages, and I never got a spec art.
Wow.
Now I do it. Now I literally do it in sections of 4. I pay you, we'll do half up front and half at the end on pages on 4, and we're just gonna go over.
Right. So then, worst case scenario, you didn't lose your whole shirt. Yeah, exactly. And most people because for us, we just want to we have a certain budget we want to work in. We just want to see our thing come to life. So we're okay. Whatever our budget is, we want to find the artists, what their page rate is. Great, here's the page rate. Yeah, I'm not bringing a lawyer in and going into negotiations. You're hey, I'm gonna get. I will say, I did end up negotiating with a previous artist that I went back to because I went to another artist, and then I was getting more benefit from that artist. But when he fell through, I was well. If you want to come back on this project, previous artists, here's some things that you straight up cannot provide. Because our artist on Harley Heroes, who's now the same artist, but he's in a different country. So I can't pay to fly him out, to 20 shows a year or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's rough because let's be honest, most people want to go to see the artist. Yeah. It's artist, writer, and then me, who's just some guy. Even though I'm
the writers are way down here, but
Well, Nick and I are kind of in the same boat because we're the organizer, producer, or whatever. Or manager, whatever you guys' titles are. We're talking about titles earlier. But for that, I did go back to him and I was hey, I'd love to have you back on this book, but what do you think about this? But typically you just go find a guy that you like. They advertise their page rate.
Yeah,
be off to the races. Should be.
And again, it's hit or miss. And this, the guy that did the 13 pages or the 12 pages in 13 days, it was so funny because I commissioned the Halloween and the Christmas stories at the exact same time, and he finished the Christmas story before the Halloween story got finished. And I couldn't, like, I'm just like, I can't put out the Christmas story before I put out the Halloween story. So I'm just sitting around until the Halloween story's done. Which got finished and she did an amazing job. Thank you very much. But yeah, so I've started, since it's Small Ages book, I've just started working with different artists, like on each chapter. So like I'll commission, 3 or 4 artists at the same time, each doing a different chapter of the book and go from there.
Oh, interesting. That
kids
works out.
Kids don't care.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yeah, kids aren't going to be as critical if it's like, wait a second,
right?
Inks on issue 2.
Like if they don't care that Rubble's voice has changed 7 times in Paw Patrol, they're not going to care. I mean, it's all good. Like,
Right.
They're not that critical of the art. So, well, very cool, very cool. So now, in terms of shows, you guys have what you said. You had Savannah and you have Raleigh this weekend.
Yeah. So this coming weekend, part of us will be up in North Carolina at GalaxyCon in Raleigh.
Okay.
And mostly there we're doing a couple panels, and one of those panels is the live Let's Play for, well, let me back up. So because the Harley Heroes book is based on the D&D game,
Sure.
we took the book that's based on the D&D game and turned it back into the D&D game.
Okay.
So we have like a little module where people can show up, like, a lot of these cons have the game rooms.
Mm-hmm.
You can like run games there. So we're like, hey, why don't we just come back out with a version of the game where they can like come and play as the, we're talking about like investment, engagement. People who play as the character in the book that they're reading.
A lot more engaged. Yeah.
They love it. So, so up there, Matt will be running the module in the game room.
That's cool.
Like a panel, like a live Let's Play panel.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, so we're there, and then Savannah Comic Con.
So in terms of merch, all right, and so I'm big on merch. I love merch. I think the comic book is like a gateway, right? But I feel like merchandise is where you can really do a lot of profitability. You guys have a really, really cool logo. Obviously, we talked about that, right? So you got the cool setup there. So what type of like merch products, like what do you guys have, and what's kind of the game plan, like, for what you guys are trying to do with it?
So it's probably seemingly random because some people come up to the table and they're just like, you guys have soaps? We're like, yeah, we have soaps based on the main 4 characters.
Sure.
And it
smell like your favorite character.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, you smell like a hero, and it works when like in Heroes Con in Charlotte, we get positioned by the bathroom just like we're in the corner, so we're just like here. And it's like being the only bookseller at a arts and crafts show or whatever, non-Comic Con. If you're at a show and you sell something weird no one else is selling, people get drawn into that. So it's kind of just like whatever I think is interesting or whatever I think is cool. Like if I go to a show, like when I met you there, Todd, like I like the bags that you had, like the random options there, and some people at Ancient City that first year, there's a lady that does, you guys might have seen her, she does soaps, and she does like a build your own character.
I did one for my wife.
No, for sure. So she'll do like a set of 4 where it'll be like pick your like race, alignment, class, whatever. And so I basically just saw that. I'm like, that's cool. For us, it's more of a gimmick. But like, why don't we just do that? And so I just like go find someone who makes soap. Like, hey, I have an idea. Want to make some soaps? And they're like, yeah, sure. So, and luckily for those, it was one of my partner's wife. So Matt was just like, hey, Linda, like, I need you to make soap for me. So one of them is like, we have our own coffee like flavor, like we just have like sample bags of coffee.
So who'd you work with on that? The Comics on Coffee people, or?
They're cool. They're a husband-wife duo. They're in Central Florida. I think their headquarters is attached to Scout Comics, so they're like in or like next door or something.
Yeah.
So because that's their theme, they'll do like comics and like comic themed coffee. Kyle and I drink a shitload of coffee when we're going to shows and everything. So we're just like, hey, you guys, be interested in doing this? They do, like, they work with Scout and other indie people. Now they're like, they have that license through DC, so they have like the Dark Knight roast. Like they're
Nice.
cool. They're
That's
like
cool.
taking off. But so
Oh yeah, Andrea from Scout. One of his things was like, I had coffee before Batman. That was
Yeah.
his. He's like, I had Shepherd coffee before Batman had coffee.
Yeah,
And I was just
it's a good
you're right.
tagline. Yeah, so like we just approached them and we're like talking to them, and you know they like the book, and so we're like, hey, let's get some coffee going, and we work with them, pick the flavor, did the ice on the art, did the bags, everything. We came up with the name of the flavor. It's like s'mores flavored. We call it the long rest. It's like camping out and making s'mores. So
Nice.
and then from that, there's a company. They have locations over Florida, but they're in Jacksonville, and they do tea. So they like they're like spice and tea exchange. So shout out to those guys. So I have people like me. I drink a lot of tea too. So I go in there and I'm just like, I'm just making pitches. I just like selling. So I'm going in there. I'm like, hey, we work with a coffee company.
Yeah,
we did.
Why not?
I'd love to do a tea flavor. So I'm trying to work with them to do like a custom tea kind of flavor back. So it just happens because it's stuff that I personally enjoy. Right. And like a lot of people, some people will say no, but I'm not hitting up Starbucks. I'm not like, hey, Starbucks, can I do a coffee or collaboration? It's other small businesses that like to work together, and as long as you're professional, and your stuff, like I don't think anyone I've actually reached out to has said no. So for like the stuff that we have for merch.
Well, again, you have a cool product, and I again, you understand the business side of it. Like you're trying to make it work for everybody. It's funny.
Win.
Exactly. And that's it. Like you're trying to support other small businesses as well, and I think that's always a big thing. And again, I bring up the merch part because you mentioned towards the beginning of the show, about how people were kind of doing donations because they just wanted to support you. They were more or less doing that. And I found that by having additional merchandise items, like that's one of the other ways that they can support you. Like maybe they're not the biggest comic book people, but they love drinking coffee. So they're going to buy, some of your coffee, or they're going to buy some of your tea, or, they want to buy your comic book, but they also want to buy everything that you have. And that's been like, for us, where things got interesting was because towards the beginning, when we just had a book or two, everything we had was okay, cool, $10, and then all of a sudden, like when we started having, 3D prints and hats, and then, this and that, and different things. And then all of a sudden, like, then we had 6 books, and then we had, like you could do 6 books on a 3D print. And all of a sudden, like, again, you got that price point a little higher. And it was oddly enough that when we did that, like people, it almost like legitimizes you a little bit more too. And like people that, hadn't stopped before would now stop because they're just like, oh, they've got a bunch of stuff. And it's just interesting. So yeah, I like talking about the merch because I think while the comic and the story is like kind of the main thing, I feel like so many people get caught up in just that and they miss the opportunities kind of outside of it.
Yeah, and like I mentioned the weirder stuff we have because like we have shirts, like a guy will come by and be like, oh, I like your logo. And I'm like, well, he's like, I want to buy a shirt. I'm like, do you want like the logo shirt? He's like, sure. He's like, no, I just like the horse. I just want that. I think it's cool. I'm gonna buy it. I'm like, okay. So you get people like that, but yeah, it's another opportunity. For sale, and if you have good margins, then there you go. And it expands. You become more of a business and a brand, like you're saying, which is spot on. It's not just this product. Now you're a business, and the average person walking by doesn't know if you have some sweet licensing deal or whatever with some company or merch. It's just stuff that you have. So it's definitely good to expand. I will say there's obviously more of an investment though, because like I'll say specifically for t-shirts, it's more of an investment because you got to figure out a good balance between like having a million boxes of shirts of like a color of every size versus like we have basically on demand shirt printing, but people coming to shows are way more impulsive with their purchasing decisions. So if you don't have it there right then, you're basically not going to get them coming back unless, hats are good for sure. I got to find mine somewhere. But
I haven't reordered. I bought a ton of them like on a stupid discount one time, and we sold them, and it was whatever. And then I've just honestly, I've been wearing the ones that comic book stores have been giving me. I haven't. I don't know. We did 3D prints. We did 3D prints for a long time. We have our bad guy in the Project Titans is called the Shade, and we have the big one that travels with us, and then we have these little tiny ones. And we had like a ton of these tiny ones that we got from somebody we met at a show, and he wanted to build it, and he gave us a really good deal on them. And it's funny because he used the character for D&D campaigns, like he used it as a bad guy for D&D.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And then we would we went and like we just sold them at shows for the longest time. And again, we had the margin on it was ridiculous. And I mean, we just throw it in there, and it was this cool little like product that nobody else had.
And it separates you from other people.
Oh yeah, I mean, it just again like it made us stand out. And again, unfortunately, I haven't really pulled the trigger. It's very interesting because again, like there are years where I know I'm going to do a lot more cons, and there's years where I don't think I'm going to do a lot more cons. And the years that I don't think I'm going to do a lot of cons, I don't invest in like a ton of inventory because it's just going to sit in my garage. So I just sell through what I have. This was one of the years where I didn't intend on doing a lot. I'm doing more than I expected. So I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt. I'm just like, I should have ordered more of those 3D figures. Like I should have ordered more hats. Like I didn't plan on doing many shows this year, but it just kind of worked out where we're going to. So
yeah, that's where the business side of it comes in, because even if we do merch, we have a list of stuff or I'll keep a mental note like, that would be cool to do. Some people just come up to us, like they come up to us and like, do you have dice?
It's crazy how it works. Right?
We're D&D. We should have.
Yeah, you should have dice, 100%.
But
I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, there's a reason why I don't have them right now yet, but I'll tell you guys later. It's just like finding good people. It's like artists. Like you have to find.
I believe
go through, whatever. So
I do.
And I want to. It's funny because I want to work with someone not just like a lot of people don't know, but a lot of people who sell things like that, they just go to AliExpress. They order them for like 50 cents. They get like 10,000 of them. Then they pay the shipping and they sell them for good money. Like I'd prefer to work with someone who like is local, I can talk and whatever. Anyways, but so you do for sure, if you're gonna do merch stuff, you need to target ideas with good margins, like you're saying, because you also want to buy bulk, so you can get either wholesale or bulk purchase discounts. So even though you are investing more than you're only, if you're like, oh, well, let's just buy like 5 of them and see how they do, which you could do, but you want to make the most you can off of stuff. So finding interesting things that are associated with your brand or book or whatever that also have good margins, that's a win. Like those are merch you want to sell all day, every day. So.
Well, again, it makes you stand out. It very much sets you apart. I mean, you go walk through a con, and again, I mentioned your sign and your background because it makes you guys stand out. Like in an area where everything's very colorful, it's kind of thrown at you. A lot of stuff's really tall, right? Like I mean, like a lot of the artists, like booths, like I mean, they get tall, and it's like the name of the game is to like get as tall as you can. And it's funny because we did our initial sign as black and white on purpose because everyone else was so colorful that we did a black and white one and ended up standing out because it was black and white and made us look smart when, I mean, it was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's just, there's a lot to it, and it's fun because from a merch standpoint, you don't want to lose your shirt on merch. Like you don't want to lose it on merch, but like merch can set you apart to a whole new level. Matt Knowles from Symmetry Creations, like they do a lot of cool stuff with like Leatherworks and different things with like their steampunk. They do like a lot of like unique.
Here's an album.
They do. Yeah, they do an album. Like I mean, they do albums that like go with the comic books, and like it's absolutely awesome.
I bought his vinyl and I didn't buy his book. I think that's the last time I saw him.
That's so funny. But yeah, I mean, like it's just stuff like that though, like that'll set you apart. mean, again, like you kind of have to do it. Like I highly recommend anybody who ever gets into it, if you just want to do a comic book, like think bigger.
Think wider.
Think bigger, because even if you're trying to go get published, like the publisher is going to want to know, like how are they going to monetize it? The comic book is kind of the loss leader. Like you have to, understand that like you're not going to make a ton on the comic book. How are you going to make money elsewhere? You got to, push that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and a publisher for sure. Like they're going to want you to have merch or licensing deals, because then they can be like, hey, we'll get, whatever X percentage. And
you have to be careful too, though, because if you're trying to go on with a publisher and you've already done all that stuff, sometimes they won't pick you up because you've already done it all, and they're don't see that they're going to be able to add a ton of value, and they're not going to be able to get in on your stuff. So if you've already done it all, like you kind of leave a room too. So it's weird.
Yeah.
Like if you've already sold a ton of your books, like just a metric ton, they're not going to want that book. They're going to want your next book. But like the one that you already sold, a metric ton of, they're not going to want that book. You've already like saturated the market with that book.
Yeah, the best value to them. Yeah, exactly. If you sold a ton of something, the best value to them is, well, now you have a brand, and your name will sell the second book that they get their cut of. Yeah.
Well, very cool. Yeah. Well, we have run a little bit past time, so we'll do the last couple of questions real quick. I'm gonna let you get out of here and enjoy your evening. So where can everyone find Shattermare on social media? How can they buy your books? Where can we find you at?
Sure. So it's pretty much everywhere at Shattermare Comics. It's like Glass Shattermare. Nice. A lot of people think like Shadowmare. I'm like, no. But yeah, Shattermare Comics. Shattermarecomics.com is where we have most of our stuff. Instagram. I pretty much answer all the messages. So if you want to send me like a message on Instagram trolling us or some sweet memes, we'll see them. That's pretty much it. Typically, we'll do, if we have like a new volume or like a book or some kind of milestone coming out, we'll do crowdfunding for pre-orders. So we'll do like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, website pre-orders.
So do you do Kickstarter and Indiegogo at the same time, or do you one and then the other?
Oh, thank you for mentioning that, because I also want to say that the more merch you have, the more cool stuff you have to offer on crowdfunding.
Sure.
Because you can offer bundles, so it pays dividends when you've got like, oh, okay, cool, we hit like this stretch goal. Everyone gets like I have a stack of trading cards in front of me right now, that kind of stuff. But we do, so we've done Kickstarter. Actually, the first pre-order campaign was Indiegogo.
Yeah.
And then the volume is when we got on the Kickstarter. And then we did Indiegogo after that. And then we had website pre-orders. Probably the future, now that we have that going, we'll do them running simultaneously.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, I don't know if I'd rather do it staggered or simultaneously, because the reason is there are different audiences. Like some people are going to go, like your true fans will go directly to the website because they're like, I'll make a couple extra clicks. I'll type in the website and I'll go there. Mm-hmm. The Indiegogo audience hates Kickstarter. The Kickstarter audience doesn't know Indiegogo exists. And so that's like their thing. Like, so if you run them at the same time, you do still run the risk of like multiple choice kind of cannibalizing your sales, where it's like, if I have a Kickstarter and Indiegogo, you really have to pay attention to what you set your funding goal to, because like, okay, well, if half the people are going to go to Indiegogo and half are going to go to Kickstarter, well, I might get funded, but I might not get one funder. I might not get either funded.
Right.
So there's just stuff you have to think about so that's kind of what I'm thinking about in the future, like whether I want to stagger them and do like pre-order rounds or do like both at the same time.
Okay.
So
let me know where you land on that. We've only ever done one Kickstarter, and it was easy. It was fun. But I don't know. Probably do another one in September. We'll see. But yeah, I haven't done that. So all right. So Shattermare, like the glass shattering. So think
Yep.
Steve Austin like breaking through
Stone
there,
cold
Shattermare.
glass shatter.
Oh yeah.
So and then last bit, what is what's some advice you would give for anybody who's trying to get into comics or trying to get into doing their own book, telling their own story? Anything you would share with them?
So I guess maybe a couple things. One we talked about earlier, it's a lot of people probably won't tell you this, but it's a lot of the people that are successful now in indie comics, they didn't start in comics. Like they built their following on YouTube or like TikTok or whatever, or they're someone in the industry and they left and then they made their own stuff. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but like we were saying, the comic is a loss leader. So if you're really passionate, I'm not gonna say not do it, but you want to have a plan or like a long-term vision to go for some sort of multimedia content, whether it's like music, comics, start a YouTube channel, talk about comics or like pop culture, and then say, hey guys, you say you have like 50,000 subscribers or whatever, and you get like consistent good views on your channel, which that's a whole other game. But then it's like, hey, I have a comic, or even like Whatnot now, like you could sell comics.
Yeah, we talk about Whatnot.
Yeah, on Whatnot, it's basically Twitch and eBay. You could then say, hey, I have like 10,000 Whatnot subscribers. Guess what, guys? This Whatnot stream, I'm launching my own book.
Yeah.
Boom. All the people that you have coming to you are now looking at that book that you do. So you want to have like you're saying, a bigger goal than just the book. So that's one thing I'll say. Second thing is just be prepared. Be prepared to put in a lot of work. And it's like anything, like you have to have a passion for it. Like you have to love it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're just gonna burn out, or you're gonna it gets hard. So
it gets tough. Yeah. It's interesting. Well, it's funny because we were joking around earlier, and I told you I was like, don't say don't. Don't say quit. Don't say whatever.
Yeah.
But we were at Tampa Bay Comic Con, and somebody asked for advice, and they were like, if you can quit now, quit. Like if you can walk away, walk away.
Why?
They're like, but if you can't walk away, if you just have to do this, then okay, like go do it. That's cool. You're gonna be good. But like they were just like, but if you can quit, like if you don't have to do it, it's not in your blood, if it's not in your passion, if you're not like just that committed to it, like if you think you're just gonna make a quick dollar and get out, like just quit now. Like
I see what they're saying.
Happen. Like it's and again, it was just it's interesting. I would, and I'll add to that because I think you're spot on with a lot of it. But I would, like don't be if you're not good at something, get other people to help. Like if again, there's a ton of artists out there that are amazing artists, but they're crappy salespeople. Bring a salesperson. Like you have a friend who knows how to sell and will do it like inexpensively to go help you out. Like bring a salesperson with you. Because that's what it is. Like you're at a con. I mean, you're basically working a festival, working a fair. Like you gotta sell, and if you're not comfortable with that, get somebody who is, or get comfortable with it. And that's my 2 piece.
Right.
You're gonna be wasting a lot of time if you don't learn how to sell.
Yeah, as much as I would say, like in this day and age, you don't need like a publisher. Like you could do. I didn't know anything about the comic industry, but at the end of the day, I couldn't do this without like the 3 other guys that I've got in the company. Like I could not do it, and I suck at drawing. So like,
there you
go. just at a baseline, I need someone to help me with the art, but like I can't. Right? Like my strengths are like you, like the business side, the sales side. So, but even just going to shows, like I don't know about you guys, but if I didn't have Kyle, who's the writer, but even if he wasn't the writer, like if I didn't have him going basically on tour with me, like a duo to most of these shows, it would suck. It's like you're doing this all by yourself,
Yeah. Oh, it's tough by yourself. Get a ride or die. Get a buddy. Like it's tough. We had Brandy Berry. She's a writer of Red Creek, and she did Infinity Con by herself. And she joked, she's like, I'm gonna go sleep for a week. Because she was by herself, and we had like 3 or 4 people at the table. That was a fun, interesting show. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I did Brook City. Yeah, I did Brook City by myself, and I was fried. Like, that was the first day we did those mystery bag things. That worked out well. That was a good one. So try new things. That would be the other advice. Try new things. It's almost
throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. I mean,
yeah.
Ultimately, like, I have the complete opposite opinion of the people that are like, "Oh, you shouldn't," because I mean, I've heard some other people throw this term around, so I'm not like going to take credit for anything. But to me, like, I believe it 100%. Like, we're in the iron age of Western comics. Like,
Sure.
These big publishers, you see them going bankrupt, losing millions of dollars left and right. I know we didn't talk about like a lot of like mainstream pop culture stuff today, but
Sure.
we can talk about that on another stream.
Yeah,
but it's indie people. Like, you see people. I mean, I don't know how familiar you guys with like Eric July and Isom, but he's a guy. He was a YouTuber. He's in comics, and he started a band. He's an entrepreneur, but he launched a indie comic, like, is produced by him and people he hired. His pre-orders on their volume 1, like $3 million, like $3.5 million he pulled in.
Wow.
Like 30,000 copies. So, you don't need a lot of the mainstream people backing you. You just need a loyal following, like people who are actually interested in you or your product. So I want more of those people. I want a million people just like us,
right?
Because it's not competition. Like,
no,
you got, like, we're a family, and we're gonna all make a lot of money, and we're gonna outcompete the big guys. So it's just a matter of time.
Well, great, and I mean, it's funny too, because you look at indie comics, and they're so different, and that's the big thing. I've really gotten to the point where I pretty much, like, there's a couple like mainstream comics that I read pretty consistently, but other than that, I really enjoy indie stuff. Like, I buy indie stuff all the time. It's just different. Now the downside is I don't know when I'm going to get my next issue of it. But other than that, like, I mean, it's at least different. I enjoy the crap out of it. So
yeah, but like I mean, man, we go to so many shows. Most of the people who I see buying like Marvel, DC, it's all back issues.
Yeah,
from
collectors. Yeah,
and then even most of the stuff I read, if it's not indie, if it's more mainstream, it might be like an Image book.
Yeah, so I think about it.
IDW,
yeah. I'm loving all the turtle crossovers, all the Ninja Turtle crossovers. Yeah. Like, they'd cross them over with Power Rangers, they cross them over with Godzilla, they're crossing them over with Street Fighter. Like, bro, give me a Ninja Turtles crossover.
Stranger Things crossover.
Yeah, they're doing a Stranger Things crossover. There's a Ghostbusters one out there that I didn't know about that I want to go read now. So, I love all the Turtles crossovers. Those are my.
There you go. That's all the stuff we grew up with.
Yeah,
like 90s, 2000s.
Bro, I love it. Those are my jam. Like, I'm about to let it. So yeah.
So yeah, I want a million more people in this space, in this industry, because as far as a business standpoint, even if like you said, even if you're getting into it, just hey, I think I'm going to do this, I'm going to make money at it.
Sure.
Then write a manga,
cool.
Because frankly, manga is just like absolutely bending the Western comic industry over. Like if you look at it, like all the numbers, it's killing it. And then you get manga, and you get anime, creates a feedback loop that gets you into the multimedia stuff we're talking about. Like, so
Project Titans, manga style, reads left to right. It's worked out really well for us.
I think that's probably where you guys get a lot of boosts.
Oh yeah, dude, it's nuts. It's fun.
Yeah,
it works out well.
The next thing we're producing that Kyle's writing manga. So it's gonna be straight up.
I've thought about taking the Project Titans art and just turning it like and making it go full manga, because it's manga style, but it's done as a comic book, so it still reads left to right. It's still sized like that. But I've fully have thought about just being like, let's take the art and let's just turn it into a manga. Let's have some fun with it. Let's turn it around. That's it. I mean, that's it.
Cover,
That's it.
But I like
So-
the Western style, like the Western structure, you know.
Mhm.
But
Well, and that's what works for us.
Mhm.
Like it
Yeah.
works really well. Like we'll tell people flat out, like, hey, it's basically a Western manga. And it's our pitch. Like I always tell people, it's like Dragon Ball meets Airbender. And I'll give them my little
There you go.
30-second pitch, and we've got the whole first 6 issues in a graphic novel, and boom, 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 and we go. And then now on top of that, we have the ability to offer them an all ages book. And I also, if it's a decent sized show, I usually hit up one of my friends, and I'll usually buy a certain amount of their books from them. That way I have a different option available. And a lot of times what I'll tell them is, hey, you can buy this book, the Project Titans graphic novel, and then you can also pick either the all ages book, or you can pick this book over here, and it's going to be X amount of dollars. And it's just super simple. It's easy. It's going to go. And people tend to go for it.
yeah, man. And also, like, younger readers are used to reading books because of manga. Like,
Yeah.
so having a volume,
Mhm.
they might not even know what trade paperback means.
Oh, yeah.
They're
We
like,
don't
it's a
even.
book. I can read it.
That's it.
So, because it's basically between people who are readers
Mhm.
that are used to now more reading manga or like back issues, and then collectors or
Mhm.
like whatever category you would put all the people that go to like
Mhm.
MegaCon to buy that that exclusive convention where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, here's your metal prints, here's your
Right.
foil, like they're buying it just because it's a spec
Sure.
cover for like an issue 1 or a key issue.
Mhm.
So to me, that's, as far as comics go, like that's the basis of the industry. So
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree all day. But again, I think that there's just, as any creators, we have to continue to be creative and find different ways to like kind of find our niche and mix it up too as we go to different shows. And that's when, as we start repeating shows and stuff like that. And that's why, like I said, I always usually hit up a buddy and, I'll buy 30 of their book and put it on my table and explain, hey, this isn't my book. This is from my friend. I wanted to, bring it here and here's the story, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be their representative for the day, and they'll get 30 sales wherever I'm at for that weekend. So we're gonna have Red Creek from Brandy Berry, which is a vampire western. We're gonna have that in Tampa with us. So we're gonna have Project Titans, we'll have Sheldor, and then we'll have Red Creek.
see, that
And
sounds cool.
if we have any of Red Creek by the end of day Saturday, I will have failed as a seller, and I don't think we will. I don't think we'll have any. So
I'll ship you guys some Harley Heroes this week.
do it.
Hey,
Hit me
do
up.
it.
Like
Let's
honestly though, I was gonna hit you up for the next show. Like I'll we'll figure that out, but we'll hit you guys up and we'll rep you
Do some
guys
trade
too.
these or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like I've got a manga from a buddy of mine in South Florida, like Vero Beach. We sell some novels because we're just comics, so we don't have any
Yeah.
novels right now. So I sell some novels for this guy that's in Jacksonville.
But it mixes it up, right? Like, I mean, again, it brings a different audience to your table. Last year, I was joking around with Marvin. I wish Marvin had showed up today, buddy. We love you. But like he had just finished his book and he wasn't doing Tampa Bay. And so I bought like 30 or 40 of his book from him and I went and sold them at Tampa Bay with us. And I can't tell you how many people stopped at the table because they saw his book. It had nothing to do with stopping at my table for me. And I mean, I was constantly telling them just like, hey, like I made 40 sales today, and they were just because your book was on the table. Like,
There you go.
yeah, so
Just a little bit of variety, yeah.
mix it up, take care of people.
So yeah, man.
Well, good stuff, brother. I appreciate you joining us again. I know I kept you late, and I apologize for that.
No worries.
I had a blast
man.
talking. Nick, is there anything I know I did most of this, and I'm sorry.
Oh,
buddy.
you're good.
I kept talking. But did you have any questions that you wanted to fire off before we hop up?
Let's go one last one. When you're playing D&D, do you play it thinking, hey, this would sound good for the comic, or do you play it just like that and then write the comic afterwards? So like, do you have an idea how the comic wants to go and say, hey, or play the game that way?
Yeah. So my answer to you is, so have you played D&D or tabletop
So
games?
I have not played D&D. We do play some strategy games and stuff. We recently just found out some people that play that are local here. So it might be something that we look into. I think we're going to start and be like, hey,
don't run
There you
away,
go,
buddy.
get Todd.
hey,
Oh, we
Don't
should
run
do
away,
a-
buddy.
We should do the Harley Heroes module.
Hey,
Let's do it. I would do that.
I'm down.
I would do that with you
That'll
guys.
be the gateway
Let's
for
do it.
Todd.
Yeah, I
There we
will.
go. Yeah.
I would do that for y'all.
But yeah, no, we haven't played, but I think it's gonna be something just to learn because just something different. Like I said, we play a lot of board games, a lot of strategy games anyway. It kind of just feeds right into that pretty much what we play.
Nice.
So
I will do it only if we can stream it.
hey,
That's
let's do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get Matt involved. He'll stream it.
All right, let's do it.
We can do it.
So Nick, are you familiar with the term metagaming? So do you know what that is in D&D?
Kind of
Okay.
D&D no. D&D
Oh,
version
well,
no.
I'll explain it to Todd then. So
Yes.
and for the audience. So metagaming is like because you're a player playing a character, right?
Mhm.
And you pretty much can see at whatever is going on, whether you're using like a virtual tabletop, so you have like a map typically,
Mhm.
like a map in person or whatever. And so like say I'm outside the room, right? And like Todd, Nick, you guys are having interaction. So metagaming is like if I'm outside of the room, but I know that you guys are having that conversation. So like I play my character as if I knew that, even though I shouldn't. Like that's because it's a meta version of that game.
Yeah.
So when we play the game and we're playing, I have three layers. Like my character, I have to not metagame for the game itself with the other players. And I have to not metagame for the comic. So to answer your question, this is a long answer. Like I have to play knowing, am I making this decision for the fun of the game, or am I making it because I think it'll be epic for the comic one day?
Yeah.
And it's really difficult. Like I have to be honest. Sometimes I just do because I'm like, fuck it, this will be awesome. Like I cannot wait till my character comes in. I cannot wait.
Can't wait to see this in color and
yeah. It's a dream come true. But some stuff I'm like, no, I gotta play the game. I gotta enjoy what we're doing at the table. So to answer your question, yeah, I have thought about it. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, hell yeah. Like when we created the logo, like a couple months before we wrapped up what'll be like the second arc of the book, I like this is basically a character in the game now because I was like 100%.
Yeah,
like, I have to make that happen.
Oh, it's a badass looking character too. So that's hard to turn down.
So now it's a like an official, so stuff like that. Like trying to think of a couple other things that happened. So some stuff. So like the first arc, because the campaign 1's already been wrapped up for like a couple of years, or 2 or 3 years, or whatever. So some stuff has helped us, like going back and filling in the blanks. And it's made the story more cohesive because we know, like, oh well, we know where this character arc is going, so why don't we actually like when the book opens up with the bard like telling the story about the characters, he was eventually a character someone played, like that was one of the guys. But then we're like, oh cool, like it's classic, like a bard telling a story, like why don't we put him in the beginning? So there's some interesting stuff that happens there that didn't actually happen that way in the game, but we're like,
just
well,
made sense story-wise.
It'll be more interest. It's a better to us. It's a better payoff when you get to the part where he comes in versus if he wasn't in before.
Yeah, so that makes sense. I like that. All right, that's cool.
Cool.
Well, then I have one last question. What did you think of the new D&D movie? What was that?
Man, I'm glad you asked this. How much longer do you have?
Whatever, I'm here. I don't care. My kid's gonna be up at 4 a.m. At this point, I'm already sleep deprived. It's all
right. Hell yeah. So we're gonna do well. Hold on, let me pour a little bit more whiskey. So we're gonna do a stream and do a review, but we never got together. So this will be like my D&D review.
There you go.
Yes, I want to know because I did watch it, so I did watch it.
Okay. So I mean, as kind of a veteran player, there's like some stuff in there that's Easter egg. So it kind of pulls on like my nostalgia strings where I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. You'll get that. Overall, I'd probably give it like a 6 to 6.5 for a movie. Sure. Because it's like pretty good. It's like there's some stuff that drags a little that I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. I think overall, like some of the action scenes were cool. I I didn't judge. I try not to judge it as like, oh, this isn't. You can't do that as like this character.
Right.
You can't do that
Yeah.
in D&D. You know.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's gotta be tough.
yeah. So like, but I like overall like special effects were good. I like that they included like a lot of the jokes to me didn't land. It was like it's a little cringe. But like when they put in like the bird guy is like one of the judges in the beginning. Like to me that's cool because that's
Right.
I've played a character of that race.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it pretty wholesome movie overall. Like, it's a story about like the lady like Michelle Rodriguez character becomes like the surrogate mother for the kid.
Yeah.
Because the mother like there's a good redemption arc for what's the guy that plays the bard basically.
Chris Pine's character.
Chris Pine's character,
Yeah.
So
yeah, so I thought it was funny, and this is just where I'm at in life, by the way. We can't watch like a whole movie. You watch it in halves. You know what I mean? Like that's how it works. So I watched this over 2 nights. I read some of the Easter eggs. For the most part, I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I think, like you said, there were a couple of parts that kind of drug out. Like it was just probably could have been a little more streamlined. But from like a writing perspective, again, like I enjoyed a lot of it. I did read where, in the like kind of one of those final battle scenes, like when they're in the maze, whatever, and how they worked in like the characters from the cartoon, like Dungeons and Dragons, and like they were kind of in there. Like I thought that was really cool. Like they were dressed and like to look just like the cartoon. And I thought that was really cool. There was some stuff that I thought was really creative and kind of, like played to it. Again, I thought it was entertaining. I mean, it was what it was. I didn't go in there expected to be like this perfect masterpiece that makes sense from, absolute beginning to end. I have no idea what Bradley Cooper played, but like the little dude, like I don't know what that was.
The gnome.
The gnome,
either a gnome or I think it was a halfling.
So like I just was like, what is that? Like it's really odd looking, and how do they talk him into doing it? But yeah, other than that, I was just like, I actually really.
They talked him into playing a raccoon for Marvel. So
that's true. Yeah, it's probably not too far of a step.
That's fair.
And he might not even have known. They might just been like, hey, we wanted to cameo as this guy, and then they did the either
CGI and everything,
CGI, drunk him or whatever. Yeah. To the camera tricks.
Yeah, as long as it's not A Star Is Born, I'm good. Like, as long as that was.
It was cute. Like the joke is like he's this tiny halfling, and then the Rodriguez character is like this butch, like barbarian.
Yeah.
So, like, of course, they would be lovers or whatever.
Of course. But no, I enjoyed it though. I thought it was good. So I hope they do a follow up. I hope they do a different one, another one.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Just like if they did a different story with another group, I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the brilliance of what they can do though. Like, I mean, they can do, you can have a movie come out every 2 years and have a whole different cast, a whole different story. Right,
exactly. Because that's D&D, like
exactly.
And then just work them into the like have them either interact with or like weave it into the plot of the like what I would do is like the consequences of what this group went through would affect the other group. Something like that.
Or by the time you get to movie 4 or 5, it's all the survivors of each movie like working together or something like that. Like only 2 people have lived from every movie and they're all going to be together. So,
yeah. I think as far as like if you're going to judge it, does this feel like you're watching a D&D group play an adventure? If you watch Vox Machina on Prime, Amazon Prime, which is an animation from the people who did Critical Role, which are like big D&D streamers, and I think most of them either voice act or like Matt Mercer plus them wrote it, a lot of it. So I think that's a little more towards like if you're a big D&D fan and you want more like, this feels like I'm watching like a D&D group, because there's some jokes in there where it's like, oh yeah, I could tell like
Yeah.
the guy fucked up his role or whatever and whatever. So that kind of stuff. So
Respect.
that's what I would recommend.
Okay.
Slash
Appreciate it.
eventually when we come out with an anime,
There you go.
or
There you go.
like
There
a
you go.
merchant comic, I recommend ours.
There you go. Well, no, I want to play the module though, so we got to figure that out. We need to. We'll figure
Get
out
it on the
something to set up.
books.
Yeah, we'll put something on the books where we'll play your module and we'll do it, and I will be very bad.
That's the beauty. Like you have a backstory. You just got to do homework and read like I'll give you the trade or something.
Yeah.
You got to read like the first 3 or 4 issues, and then you'll know what's going on.
All right.
Or not.
Respect.
We can
It
do
doesn't matter.
Just fucking run with it. You know.
Just bug around and find out, man.
Exactly. Fuck around and find out. I love it. All right. On that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap. Everybody have an absolutely amazing night. Thank you, Brian, for joining us. Nick, thanks for showing up and again keeping me on task. And we'll see you guys next week. We will be live from the Tampa Bay Comic Con. I have no idea what we're gonna do. So tune in to watch that chaos.
Are we doing raffles? We going live doing any raffles?
We're gonna do raffles. We got to do a panel on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like they're putting us to work. So
Yep.
it's gonna be a fun one. So
Check us out.
yeah, you guys have a great one.